Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by sophomore on the George Washington women's lacrosse team, Gracie Burke. In her lacrosse career, Gracie was a first team All League, second team All County, and the number 6 junior in New Jersey in 2021. Gracie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And how's everything going?
Good. I'm really excited to be here. Great day and excited to talk about some lacrosse.
I'm excited to have you on as well. Obviously, fall semester, we're in the middle of fall semester now. So, how has your fall semester been going for you, both on and off the field?
Good, pretty good. Classes are good. Lacrosse is good. We got morning practice, class throughout the day. So just living the dream. Can't really complain.
And obviously, preparing for this upcoming season, what were some things you worked on in the off season and now in training to get ready for this upcoming season? Is there anything in particular you wanted to work on?
Yeah, coming in this season, I really over the summer, I wanted to focus a lot on just getting my conditioning up. I think I have a really strong base of strength and stuff, but I really wanted to make sure that that conditioning piece coming in as a sophomore and especially as a midfielder, where being super conditioned is kind of part of your role on the team. I wanted to make sure that I had a really good base to start with coming in this fall, and I think I started with a really good base. And over this off season in the fall, I think I've worked a lot on it with our coaches in practice and our strength and conditioning staff. So shout out Eric Guthrie, our strength coach, who's been really doing a great job with getting our middies nice and conditioned.
Yeah, what are some drills you do to build your condition up? I'm assuming just a lot of running to build that endurance up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of creative ways. Sometimes he calls it sneaky conditioning, or we played sharks and minnows one day, and he brought out the pool noodles, and we just got to tag each other with it, which was cool. We'll do a lot of different timed stuff. So we've been doing some box running, just 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. So definitely some stuff that has been making a pretty good impact on us so far.
Have you
Definitely noticeable.
noticed have you noticed sort of the impact of some of those training that you've done so far during fall ball?
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot more conditioned. We got a couple two, usually around two midi lines, so we're just running in those in pretty quickly. So just really sets us up really well for the fall, and then as it's going to help us move into some spring ball coming up.
Now, being a sophomore this year, how is your mindset heading into this season different compared to last year as a freshman? It must be a little bit easier since you're not sort of worrying about a lot of stuff off the field that must be on your mind trying to get used to a new school and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Last year was definitely a bit stressful. I came in off my senior year, off my first practice back as a freshman was my first one off of a torn ACL. So I tore my ACL coming into my senior year of high school. So I didn't really get to play anything in high school, at least my senior year. So then last year that was kind of trying to get through that, with all that I went through senior year. So now I'm just trying to stay focused. And last year was a good learning experience, and now I'm just ready to take my college now IQ on the field and off the field and just kind of move it more towards this year and be more of a leadership role.
It also must feel nice too to not sort of be thinking about injury recovery. You can sort of just focus on building up your lacrosse skills like you've been
Yeah.
talking about. It also feels like that makes a lot room for a lot more improvement since you're sort of more focused on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. I know we got a couple ACL recovered from ACL girls now, and we all talk about how once you get cleared, it's like they open the gates to the race. It's guns blazing. So now it feels really good.
Now, what has fall ball been like for your team so far? And have you guys have some new players on the team based on just looking at your roster? So how have they sort of connected to your team and how have you sort of helped them, I guess,
Yeah.
immerse into that JW culture that you guys have?
Volleyball's been really awesome so far. I know a lot of our grad students and our transfers have really just embraced our team culture. We're a very close knit team. We take a lot of pride in how close we are as a unit, on and off the field. Just how we're all literally no lie, best friends on and off the field. So it's really fun to take some new faces, some new personalities, and how they've meshed so well with our team culture and all that. And it's just been a really cool thing to watch. And just a lot of new people on and off the field, and some just really cool people to learn from. We have a lot of grad students, and we have three grad students and a senior transfer. So a lot of really experienced, really high IQ girls on our team now. So really exciting stuff.
What are your team's goals and expectations for next season?
Yeah, obviously we want to get a bunch in the win column this year. You know, we talk about all that a lot. Like we gotta like learn how to win, learn how to play as a unit. And I think at least through fall ball, we're doing a really good job with that, taking from each set what we do wrong, what we do right, and just focusing on like next ball. Don't focus on, the bad play you just made. Or even if you made a really great play, don't hone in on just one thing in the past. Just we're moving forward as a program, as a unit. And I think we're doing a great job of that so far. So really exciting.
Now, individually, what do you want to see yourself accomplish this season?
I know this season I'm really excited to just get a couple more stats on the board. Last year we had a couple really really awesome upperclassmen, some graduated seniors who whose shoes I really just want to fill, and I'm excited. I think the coaches have done a really good job, like taking us up to that next level. Their first year last year, and I was a freshman last year, so now like with my experience from freshman year, I really just want to take all that and triple it, quadruple it into all I want to do this year.
Now, let's transition and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So, from the research I did on yourself, it says that you're from Ramsey, New Jersey. So, talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I started playing lacrosse just through we didn't have like a high school team pretty early on, probably around when I was in fifth or sixth grade. My high school got a lacrosse team, but just through the RJLA, the Ramsey Junior Lacrosse Association. They started me really young, probably around 7 or 8, and just kind of fell in love with it instantly. I was a big like soccer, basketball. I just love to play every sport, and lacrosse is just kind of one of those sports where if you're athletic and you can like learn and just absorb all the skills and stuff, you're pretty good to go. And it just kind of like took off from there. I started doing well in junior league. Then I decided to play some club. Um, and then eventually we got a high school team, which is really cool. And then it just kind of took off from there, and I just fallen in love with the game instantly. It's great.
Is New Jersey like a hockey, or is New Jersey a lacrosse like hotbed?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. My county is more like I'd say a little more little south, somewhat central Jersey. It's a big giant hotspot, but North Jersey's kind of making their name known
That's
as of
awesome.
now at least.
Yeah. Now, growing up, like, who was your favorite lacrosse player or team that you like to watch?
I grew up in like when I was in like middle school in like the Sam Apuzzo Dempsey Arsenal era. So I was like a massive like BC Lax fan. I went to their BC Lax camp. And I always say Sam Apuzzo is just my favorite player because when I was at that camp, like I was super shy. I was with one of my club teammates, and I was like I just wanted to like crawl into my little like into my shell and just kind of like sit in the background. And I remember she was like coaching the camp, and she just kind of was like pushing me along. Like she knew my name. She made sure to like shout me out in every drill. And I just like really admire her as a person and a player. So she's definitely like my lacrosse idol. But just growing up in that era, they were really great role models to have and kind of like set my pace for the game. I know Dempsey Arsenal was like one of the biggest, the fastest, players right now. So I like to just model my game after theirs. Just continue to work on that.
That's awesome. That's good to know that I know a lot of people say you shouldn't meet your idols, but at least when you got to meet yours, she was really nice. So I guess
Yeah,
that
she
sort
was
of
great.
contradicts that statement a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, before college, like you mentioned, you played for your high school in Ramsey. So talk about your high school lacrosse experience and sort of what you took away from it.
Yeah, I definitely loved playing high school lacrosse. It was awesome. I didn't have a sophomore year because of COVID, and I didn't have a senior year because of my ACL. So it was kind of like my freshman year. We had I think our entire starting lineup was seniors, so I was just kind of like doing what I could, trying to make every senior better in practice. And then I worked up to a starting spot for our first county game where we played Ridgewood, and it was probably one of the most nervous moments of my life. We played they were like probably top 10 in the country at the time because Ridgewood just like if you know like New Jersey lacrosse, they're just like a big name. And they had I can't remember her name at the moment, but she was committed to Notre Dame, number one recruit in the class, and my coach told me to face card her the whole game. So just that was pretty crazy experience coming in my first high school start, and then I just kept working. And then junior year, I got myself in a pretty good spot, um, and kind of just got my name out there as like a pretty decent lacrosse player, at least in my county. And we had a lot of success, and then it just kind of took off from there. So I think our junior year was at least my junior year was probably one of my favorite years playing wise, just like success wise. We had a pretty good record, just really fun overall, really great group of girls, and definitely an awesome experience to just represent like my high school, which I just speak so highly of.
Do you have like a favorite memory from your high school lacrosse days when you look back on it now?
Yeah, we played Verona High School, which is like a good 40 minutes or so, and they were kind of like there was like a news channel or something that like would like predict the outcomes of each games, and they had us losing by 10. So we all just came in super hot-headed. We were like, how dare these guys, say we're gonna lose by 10, and we ended up beating them by 1. I got face guarded in the second half. It was just probably one of my favorite memories, like just of all time. We rushed the field, and just a really solid memory, just kind of like put our name out there as a really strong program, and like prove that these guys who said that we were gonna get killed by this team, and we then just beat them. So it was awesome.
And you also played club lacrosse for BBL North Lacrosse Club. So I want to ask you about your experience there and sort of how it helped you prepare for college lacrosse with George Washington.
Yeah, I loved my club team. I stayed with them from when did I start? Probably around seventh or eighth grade. I stayed with them all through my junior year of high school. We went through a couple of different coaches. I still talk to like just a bunch of the girls on our team, or at least that we had. Um, and my coach was Sam Warner. She was like our director at the time. We had like a north and a central kind of like different, just like area wise through BBL Central, BBL North. And Sam kind of like took me underneath her wing and like would give me like private training anytime she could. So I'm super, super grateful for her for all she's done for me, at least in the club area. And BBL's a pretty, at least I think now it's kind of blown up, and it was just a really successful club. And I'm really glad that I joined at the time I did. And I just owe them so much of my success because they got me where I am. So definitely miss those cold fall ball tournaments in club when you're just like hanging out with your club friends. That was definitely a good time.
Now, what was your recruitment process like with George Washington, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at? Because sort of something that's unique about your high school career is you only played 2 years. A lot of people usually get at least 3 years if they're dealing with an injury. So, how did they sort of discover you, and how did you sort of want to? How did that contact start, and what made you sort of want to go there? I guess.
Yeah. So my recruiting process was during the COVID years, which was definitely one of like the toughest ways to get recruited because they kept pushing back, like the contact dates. Coaches weren't allowed to come to the games in person, which just made recruiting 10 times more difficult because a lot of coaches like would refuse to recruit off of film, and they would only go if they could see you play. So it kind of crossed out a ton of like schools that I really wanted to go to like right off the bat. So I knew that just like getting a really good like film out, and just making sure I'm like in contact with a lot of coaches. And the old GW coach actually went to one of my games, and then reached out to my coach Sam Warner, who the old coach previously coached Sam Warner in college at JMU. So she reached out to Sam, and then I just got into talking with the coach, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted in a college lacrosse experience. I just knew from being so young that I just wanted to be a college athlete, and then just kind of getting to campus and seeing like DC and all it has to offer was like immediate like two thumbs up for me. I fell in love with the school instantly, and then just literally committed the next day after talking with the coaches. So really just fell in love with the school so easily. It's like I praise DC so much because I think it's just like the greatest place to live in the world, and just really happy that this is where I ended up, and I'm just super super lucky.
Now, heading into your freshman year and then starting off your freshman year in fall ball, what was sort of like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse, especially coming off an ACL injury? I feel like that makes it a lot more difficult than it usually is.
Yeah, it was super super nerve-wracking. I remember like not being able to sleep the night before first practice, But thankfully, our for some reason our first practice or like our first week or so, we were like non-contact. I think I don't really know what, probably something with like COVID, honestly. But we started off non-contact, so it was kind of just full stick work for the first like week or two of my college career, which is really interesting. So, I got to warm back up into like wearing like cleats and stuff and just being back on the field. So definitely a lot of nerves in freshman fall ball, especially like first fall ball game. And I remember like stepping on the field and like my first thought was like my mom was in the stands. And I was like, I know she's crying right now because she like hasn't seen me play since junior year of high school. So just really, really nerve wracking coming in freshman year, but definitely a lot of more like excited nerves this year, especially.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in the Atlantic 10 conference and just the competition you face each game, because I think it's one of the most underrated conferences. You have teams like UMass and Richmond that do very well in the NCAA tournament. And I feel like a team like yours is on the rise to sort of be sort of similar to both those programs.
Yeah, so the A10 is definitely a very like diverse conference, and we're, as you said, I totally agree with that. Super, super underrated. Like giant powerhouses like UMass, where like scouting them was like, oh my God, like each one of these girls is just crazy. But we made it to the tournament last year. Super, super exciting atmosphere. Got to just like see a lot of great, great teams like that we played against. Um, and it's just a very competitive conference. And I think that's like one thing that makes it so special. I know a lot of like some of the bigger conferences will have just like maybe a handful of like big powerhouses that just dominate year after year. But I think the A10 is so diverse that like each year there's really no predicting who's gonna take the whole thing. And it's definitely one of like my favorite things about it. Like you really don't know what each team is gonna bring each year. And I think we're definitely like on the rise, on the hunt. Like we're super, super hungry for those top A10 spots this year. So it's really exciting to just coming into this season, like knowing that we have a really good base and we're off to a really good start so far with like making our name known in the A10.
And how would you evaluate your team's performance from this past season from your perspective? Because I feel like when people look at the record, it probably doesn't stand out to many people, but I feel like if people actually watched your team play, they noticed a lot of good signs. And I feel like your team had a lot of signs to take sort of that next step for this season to be a more competitive team and get those wins because you were challenging those good teams, like you mentioned, very well. And obviously, a lot of freshmen and younger players really stepped up and really made a name for themselves as well, which was another positive sign for your team to see.
Yeah, I know you definitely can't look at our team and just make an assumption right off of our record or anything. We're a super competitive team. We have a lot of just really hardworking girls, and like I'm just really very like excited and super confident for this upcoming year. We have a lot of like girls who just like who were even fantastic last year and just like elevated their game. Like I'm the big shout out to Stella Ray. She's on the USA team right now, and she's just like one of those girls who like you watch her play and you're like, holy crap! Like this girl's like she's so fast. Just a lot of really strong, really fast, really like high IQ girls that like I think are really just gonna have incredible blowout seasons this year, and I think it's really just gonna like blow some people's minds a little bit with like how how much like I think success we're gonna have at least this season, and it's just really like exciting to watch all these people develop and like how we practice, and I think how we practice is kind of how we play, and I think as of now we're in a really good spot to just have a really successful spring season right now.
Now, individually, what would you say was the biggest improvement you made to your game throughout your freshman year last year?
I think right now, I think I'd say conditioning. I think last year, especially as a midi, it wasn't like my strongest point, which is coming off of ACL. I was super nervous, like, oh, I'm not going to be conditioned enough, which I think was definitely like something I really focused on this summer that like I didn't want conditioning to be an issue this year. I really wanted to make sure I came in and do I could play however minutes of any game or however minutes of any drill and just I could do it like physically, like my legs were there, my lungs were there. And I think over the summer I worked really hard. I did a lot of like speed training and strength training at home. I work out at a place called Vision where my trainer Kevin, who's been training me since I was in middle school, elementary school, he knows exactly like my whole like story through like all my high school sports and stuff. So he really just honed in on getting me in super great shape and super great like building all like a good strong like base of like muscle and just speed work, which is just really I think elevated my game at least coming in this year, which is definitely something at least in the off season I try to just keep honing in on and making sure that that conditioning piece elevates each time I step on the field.
Now, did you play midfield before heading into college? Because looking at some of your high school stats, it said that did some attack as well. So I feel like I was just curious if the balance of the because I know being a midfielder, you have to be very versatile. I'm just curious as sort of how you worked on that part of your game as a freshman.
Yeah, I was really big in like playing attack, but I had like a pretty small high school, so all the coaches were like, just run midfield. Like if you were athletic, you could run. If you could, generate some sort of offense, they were going to put you on midfield like one way or another. So just being a midi, a lot of people just like are like, oh, it's a lot of running, but it's just a really versatile position where like you have to play attack, you got to play defense, you have to be able to transition the ball, and you have to be able to like do it all at once sometimes. So definitely, I think at least I had more of an attacker base coming in, so defense was one of the things I really needed to work on and still need to work on. I'm still trying to improve that throughout all my game, just trying to be a better defender in general with like my communication, my 1v1s, my two mans. Um, and I think that's definitely something like in my game I need a bit more of, but like coming in as a midi, like it's you need to just a strong base of everything. So I think a good attacking background, at least through high school and through a little bit of club. But I love being a midi.
Now, how did you learn how to balance both academics and lacrosse at such a high level? Because that's something that not a lot of athletes talk about. But I feel like it's such a tough adjustment, but it's also something that's very important as well. And I'm just curious how you sort of learn how to do that.
Yeah, especially at like GW, which is such like a high, like we have an extremely high academic standard here, which is one thing I was pretty nervous about. But like coming in freshman year, we have our usually most teams have study hall. We had I think 6 hours, spring in the fall at least, and then 4 in the spring. So we had great academic advisors who would like kind of guide us on like class management, like time management, and all that stuff, which is really helpful. And now I think sophomore year, I think I'm doing a better job at least of managing my school schedule and my lacrosse schedule, making sure I can take my time to, do my work, be recovered for practice. Sometimes you got to do your recovery while you do some homework. I'll throw on like the normal tech boots and I'll do some studying. Um, but it's just kind of mastering the balance of doing both, which week to week kind of gets easier and or more difficult, as the year moves on and like midterms and finals and just like what's going on. But I think we have a ton of resources here at GW, which just kind of makes the whole experience like student athlete experience here 10 times better. That.
So I know you're currently a sophomore, so I don't want to rush you too much, but what's been your favorite collegiate memory so far?
One of my favorite memories I think so far has been beating VCU at VCU. It was kind of I don't really know, but there was a moment I think little after halftime, probably around third quarter, where one of our just graduated seniors, Carrie McKeever, she had like 3 goals in like 30 seconds, and just kind of took like a 5 goal lead, and it just kind of carried us throughout the rest of the game. And it was probably just one of like the most exciting games. They were probably ranked like one or two ahead of us, so just kind of like a statement game for us, I'd say. Definitely one of the most fun. Our sideline got super rowdy on that one. It was pretty close by, so a lot of like fans and parents were able to come and support. So definitely one of my favorite memories. Just like team wise, really came together as a big team moment. We got a lot of great photos from that like game on the sidelines. So that was probably one of my favorites.
So I now want to transition and go into a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So my first one is obviously you go to school in DC. So what's your favorite part about the city?
My favorite part about the city probably is that it's so diverse and like so historic. Like I feel like I can just like if I'm just like going on a walk, I'll like just look around and there's like the Washington Monument, or like the like my dorm is 2 blocks from the Lincoln Memorial, which is really cool. And it's such like a unique experience. Like no other university gets that. And it's such an important city just in our world, at least right now. And I really wouldn't want to live in any other place. It's one of like it's a really safe and fun city. It's not super big and intimidating like New York or anything crazy like that, but it's definitely like a very homey kind of city, and just like the location and just everything around it, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Do you really like it over New Jersey and New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, wow, that's crazy. I feel like most people from New Jersey are probably more like New York people, at least from who I know and stuff.
Yeah. But New York's fun, but a little too close to home. It's like
All
20 minutes
right.
from me. So I can see New York from my town. So
Yeah. I would say for me, New York, just because there's probably like there's just it's so much bigger. So there's like more stuff you want to
yeah.
do if you just feel like trying something different each night. Or in DC, I feel like it's so small that you sort of have to continue to do the same things over and over.
Yeah. I guess that's true, but
I feel
that's
like
that's what you
it's
get with the
probably
city.
preference. It's probably preference
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
City's a
Now,
city.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm not saying DC is a great city. I'm just
Yeah.
saying maybe I'm probably more of a New York guy if I had to
Yeah.
guess it. But next question is if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself and why?
Oh wow, that's a tough question. I don't think I have any like celebrity lookalikes that would like I would want to that pop into my mind to play me off the bat. But maybe someone like really, really like cool and funny.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like blanking on actresses' names, but um, I'm just gonna go Haley Steinfeld just because I love her performance in Pitch Perfect.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. I only know her because she's with Josh Allen right now,
Yeah.
but um, I would say for me probably Ryan Reynolds. I think I don't really have any celebrity lookalikes myself, but I think
Yeah,
he's cool and funny, so that's who I'd go with. And I could
that's
surprise
a good,
people saying that he played me in a movie. So
nice.
next question is what's the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday?
I don't know if it's underrated, but I love Thanksgiving. I love like fall vibes, and I love just like Thanksgiving meals are just like the best times ever. And I think overrated, a little controversial, a little bit of a hot take. I think I'm gonna say Halloween, just
It's
because I
not
love dressing
controversial.
up. I love,
That's my
yeah,
most
I
overrated
love the
too.
time of year. No hate to Halloween people, but I think if I could do without Halloween, it's a little bit of a hyped up holiday for me.
Well, when you're an adult, it's like
Yeah,
every
it's fun
fun
as a
part of,
kid.
yeah, when you're a kid, trick-or-treating is the best part of the holiday. And then
Yeah,
once you become adult, it's the best part of the holiday gets taken away from you. It's like
yeah,
if they took away the food from Thanksgiving, it's just not the
yeah.
same. Like you could still have Thanksgiving vibes, but the best part about Halloween is trick-or-treating. So I'm totally with you on that. I don't think it's that controversial. I think there's just a lot of, I feel like the minority Halloween people are very loud. So if
Yeah.
you're sort of afraid to say it. So I'm with you on that.
All
I'd
right,
say
cool.
most underrated is Christmas or Thanksgiving because it's sort of near Christmas and Halloween, and it sort
Yeah.
of gets overshadowed by both those. But it's also there's not a lot of pressure with
Yeah.
Thanksgiving too, just because with Christmas you have to think about gifts to give to people, and then obviously during Halloween sometimes you have to think about a costume to wear.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving you just show up and eat food and have a good time, so that's sort of why it's the most underrated
That's
for
the
me.
best. My ideal holiday.
Exactly, exactly. I think you have the best style off the field on the George Washington women's lacrosse team. I see the hat collection in the background. That's sort of why I think you do have the best style. But besides yourself, who would you say has the best style on the team?
I think that's a really easy one for me because I'm gonna give it to Parker Crayons. She's also a sophomore. I saw her walk around the other day in overalls. She can just like wear whatever she wants, and like she's got a great jewelry collection. So I really am super jealous of her jewelry collection because I'm trying to, up my jewelry game. She's definitely got a lot of cool stuff, and she just has a really great style. She's got the bangs. I could never rock the bangs,
Yeah,
but the bangs are for sure banging. That's for sure.
that's awesome. What's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
One of them, I think this happened today actually. Our strength and conditioning coach, Eric, he said we're doing our unpopular opinions today. He said, people would rather work hard than win, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I really know if I understand what he meant by that, but
I
I think
kind of
definitely
get it.
stuck with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like I'm very competitive though, so I do want to win. That's why, but I feel
yeah,
like you have to work
exactly.
hard to get to it. So I understand where he's coming from with that.
Definitely.
I'd say the most interesting for me is I saw that like a few days ago the Phillies playing their very first game seven in franchise history, which I think is kind of crazy to think about. Um, but then I guess since you mentioned it, I was thinking about unpopular opinion. And I was sort of thinking this driving. I feel like summer is super overrated because it's hot.
That's,
There's a lot of bugs and
yeah,
there's not much stuff to do in the summer because it's just baseball going on, no
yeah,
hockey, football, or basketball. And I feel like there's more stuff to do in the winter time than it is in summer, and it's a little bit more comfortable too since it's not as hot. So I was thinking that might be my unpopular opinions. I think summer is not as fun as people make it out to be. Plus,
yeah.
when you're an adult and a teenager, you have to do stuff during the summer. It's not like you get that summer break anymore as
Exactly.
well.
I agree with that. I like watch I'd rather watch football. Like I'm a huge football fan, so I just
Yeah,
like there's no football or anything like there's no football or lacrosse to watch in the summer. So
yeah. So
totally
I
agree
just
with that
thought
one.
that I feel like people are afraid to say it, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
say it. Last non-lacrosse question is what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to accomplish one day?
I definitely want to run a marathon one day. Definitely not right after college or while I'm in college, but like maybe a year or two after graduation.
Hmm.
I think that'd be a pretty cool thing just to say I did it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
I would say for me, just travel different spots. Like I love to see
that's
the Grand Canyon. I think that would be super cool.
that's
Well, getting
that's
back to
really
some lacrosse questions now. First one is what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I think, well, at least one, the Olympics being, the lacrosse being in the Olympics is a huge win for us. I think media wise, we got to get it out there a little more. It's like each year it's improving. Um, but I think, getting it on more like streaming platforms now or like some more channels that like people can actually like watch it and get interested and understand the game. I think that's definitely one of the big ways to at least get it out there. But definitely improving so far. Like growing the game is a huge piece of like being a lacrosse player. Like you just want everyone to play it. You want everyone to love it just as
Hmm.
much as you do it, like or as I do. So definitely.
Yeah, I think lacrosse being the Olympics would definitely help it grow for both men's and women's. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely glad to see that finally happen. I feel like it's been long overdue. I'm surprised. I always thought it was in the Olympics, but then I just didn't. I guess it just never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people
uh,
were surprised by it. It
yeah,
wasn't even in the
yeah, that's
Olympics
why
yet.
I was like, oh wow, like it should have already been there like a few years
Yeah,
ago. So well, before we end
for
this
sure.
interview, Gracie, I just want to give you the chance to give any shout outs to anybody that you like, whether it's a mom, dad, sibling you might have, or any teammates, and who should we have on the podcast next?
Well, I know my parents are gonna listen to this, so shout out to my mom and dad. Um, I'm gonna get another shout out to Parker because I know she's gonna listen to this and laugh at the fact that I give her bangs a shout out. And Shay and Katie because they were on here before, and then just our GW coaching staff, Coach Colleen, Coach Liv, Coach Bat. Probably Eric's gonna listen to this too, maybe I don't know, but they've been a huge help this year, so major shout out to them. And I think a lot of my teammates would love to just come on here and talk. So probably I think our whole sophomore class has just a ton to say about lacrosse. I know the Curry twins, Emma and Grace, huge lax rats. They know every stat of every game. I know they'd be fun.
I feel like we gotta get Parker on now, just
I
because we gotta hear
know.
the story about the banks and stuff. I
You
think
got you got to.
that'll be
Her
cool.
too, her
So,
too.
well, Gracie, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself. I think you're a great player and an even better person. So I just want to let you know that. And I wish you nothing but the best stuff for the upcoming season and hopefully get the chance to see your team play in person sometime soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.